Some of it is listening to others, some of it is listening to your own inner voice.
How do
So-
you push for that in this industry that's always fast paced?
And that's the price I pay. I pay a price for passion to try things.
In your opinion, what makes an architect a great architect?
The way I did it was that I was really obsessively focused on what I was doing.
The impact architecture has on society. Can you speak more on that and how you use this philosophy?
One of the things people ask me, what's your favorite project? What are you most proud of? I'm most proud of
Good day, everyone. I am your host, Alexis Reyes, and with me is Irene Domingo. Hi, Irene.
Hi, pleasure to be here again.
So, Irene, today I'm really excited for our episode on the podcast. We're joined by Yahya Jan, the President and Design Director of NORR, based in Dubai, with over 36 years of global experience in architecture and design. Yahya leads NORR's design efforts across the Middle East and Asia. Yahya is a licensed architect in New York and earned both his undergraduate and graduate degrees at Princeton University. Before relocating to Dubai in 1996, he lived and worked for 14 years in the United States. We're excited to explore his journey, his design philosophy, and how he sees architecture shaping the future of the built environment. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Yahya Jan.
Welcome.
Welcome.
great to be here.
I understand that you have such an extensive background in architecture. You grew up in Karachi, Pakistan, am I correct?
That's right.
Just out of curiosity, can you tell us about how you grew up and like what were the early influences you had that made you want to decide to become an architect, if there were any? Yeah.
You know, growing up in Karachi, I was always fascinated and actually in some ways kind of split on whether I was interested in the sciences or in the arts. And I discovered that I was equally interested in both. And growing up, I was always building things with my hands, wood models, cardboard models. But in fact, I was studying physics and maths. So I grew up in an environment of the sciences, but always dabbling in the arts and sketching. And for me, there was a question, what do I want to do with my life? Do I really want to be a scientist, an engineer, mathematician, or do I want to do something which has more of the artistic side? And I moved or gravitated towards design and architecture because I felt it could do both.
Were your parents influential in this decision, or were there architects? Were there other people in our industry, in your family, that sort of drew you to this, just out of curiosity?
No, not really. My father was a Air Force pilot and then a commercial airline pilot. My mother was a homemaker. I'm one of three sons. I'm the middle child. And
So am I.
Ah,
Yeah, middle child.
Yeah. And you know, I would say my parents were seminal in kind of encouraging all their children to be curious. We traveled a lot. My father said that the best education is to travel, better than school, is to go out and see things for yourself. So we did get to travel a lot when I was a child growing up. I read a lot. Our house in Karachi was full of books. And we were always very intrigued by how things work. In fact, my father, I remember on one of his travels, he came back and he gave us a book. It's called How Things Work. And it shows you the different inventions and machines and how they work. And so we grew up in a household full of curiosity, reading, appreciating people who've invented things. So for me, it was kind of natural to go into a creative field, a field where I could use my thinking skills to be creative.
And it's interesting that you said your interests lied in physics and in maths, because I understand that when you did your undergraduate, you were majoring in engineering. Am I
That's
correct?
I was a math major when I graduated from my high school in Karachi. And I applied to a number of universities in the US, and Princeton gave me pretty close to a full scholarship to come and study there. And I went to study theoretical physics and math. I didn't go there to study engineering or architecture.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so I came from a strong applied math background and a applied physics background. And my first year at Princeton, it was really interesting. I went directly into what are called the honors physics and honors math classes, which are basically they are creating the next generation of physicists and mathematicians. And what I discovered in that first year is that it was not really my passion, what's called theoretical math and theoretical physics. I was more interested in applied. How can I apply math and physics to the real world? So for me, my interest was there. And so I went and spoke to my professors and I said, I hope you guys won't take my scholarship back, but I would like to change. And they said, what would you like to do? And I had already done enough sciences in my first year. So the logical thing was to become a structural engineer. So I joined the structural engineering department. And I loved the department and the professors there. And I took fluid dynamics and other engineering classes. And then in my second year at Princeton, I thought, why don't I go and join an architecture course, a studio, just to see what it's like. And
did you have like prior experience on architecture? Or was
zero.
it? Yeah.
And
So sorry to interrupt, but it was mostly your curiosity that brought you toward architecture?
Absolutely.
Because in my personal experience, when I was in university, physics and math were quite difficult subjects that there was a stigma that architects weren't exactly the strongest in those fields. So
Were or were not? Were strong.
we're not.
We're not
in
strong.
in a sense, like maybe
Yeah.
in that theoretical
That's right,
sense.
that's
So I think it's really interesting, and in my personal experience, quite unique that you really were
Yeah.
first geared toward physics and math.
I was interested in physics as a student, but I don't think I was the best at it. But it's interesting. It's one of the interesting subjects.
Yeah.
So to see that physics is your like entryway into architecture is really something,
it's very unusual,
Yeah.
actually. And then, and when I did start studying architecture in my second and third year at Princeton, and I started to think, no, this is really my passion, architecture. But I had taken, by that point, I had taken enough engineering courses. So my professor said you should complete your structural engineering degree, and then you can always take the architecture courses along the way, like what they call a double major. It was a special program at Princeton. It's called Architecture and Engineering. It's an interesting program. So then my first 4 years at Princeton undergrad, as they call it, I completed all the engineering courses and I graduated with a structural engineering degree. I also got a minor in architecture because of the courses I took in architecture during that time. And I took also art history, architectural history, theory, and all the design courses. And then it was really interesting because by the time I graduated, so I would be 22 at that point, 22 years old. I was sure that I wanted to be an architect by that time. So then I applied for a master's in architecture, and Princeton offered that I could do that at Princeton. It was a new application. And so then I spent my next 2 years at Princeton again doing the master's in architecture. Yeah.
Before you joined the workforce in the US as an architect.
Yeah, so then I graduated eventually, 6 years of studying. I worked in between during my master's program. I took a year off and I worked in New York, which is allowed even for foreign students. I was a foreign student. When I graduated in 1989, seems like a long time ago, with the master's, I then moved to Boston. I lived there for 7-8 years. I worked for architecture firms. And then that just reinforced my passion for architecture. And then it's just been...
But that's very inspiring because the moment that you decide to become an architect, you're in like already one of the best places to actually be to practice architecture. Yeah. You how was it like beginning your career in architecture in New York and Boston and all these big cities where architecture is at its peak or is the center? Yeah.
Look, I'll say one thing. It's not the easiest profession to go into. It has what I call the long childhood, which is that even if you've got a bachelor's degree and you've got a master's degree and you think you're great, actually you go back to school. The next 10 years of architecture, you're almost just absorbing and figuring out how to be a good architect, right?
Yeah.
And I've always treated, and even to this day, I'm a forever student. I'm still learning and studying things all the time. And I think that's really important. And in architecture, what happens in the US, even if you have a master's degree, you don't get a license. You have to work another 5 years. Then you have to take a licensing exam, which is pretty difficult. And then you get an architecture license, then you can call yourself an architect. So I did that, and I took the exam in New York. So I'm a licensed architect in New York. But it's a long process. It's not just 4 years of undergrad, 2 years of master's program. There's a minimum of another 5 years.
Another 5 years.
Before you can be called an architect in the US.
It takes patience. It takes dedication.
Yes.
Hard work. And just like the way that you're telling the story, it seems like you have mastered the art of patience and dedication to the craft. In your early years as an architect, who did you look up to?
I looked up to a lot of the people I worked with. My bosses, the people who hired me, they were all great architects in their own right. And I got to work with really great architects. But then studying at Princeton, it was really unique because all the world famous architects were coming there to give lectures or to teach. So you got to see the icons of architecture. And I was 18, 19, 20, 23.
Wow.
I was young. And I got to see world famous architects come and present their work. And the same was in Boston. A lot of lectures at Harvard and MIT that I used to attend while I was there. And so my formative years in architecture, it was really as if I was just continuing my education. I was getting to see great architects present their work. And, we only stand on the shoulders of others in any profession.
Yeah.
So for me, what's really exciting about my journey is that I've had the chance to see really great people present their work. And all of that has influenced me in my own work.
In your opinion, as someone who has witnessed all these greats give lectures and their presentations, in your opinion, what makes an architect a great architect?
That's a really interesting question. I think what makes someone great in any profession, not just architecture, is probably one, the ability to see things from first principles, especially in the creative world or the tech world, to remove complexity and look for simplicity. Then I would say what's really critical is execution. Your ability and your discipline and your passion and your perseverance to actually do the hard work and to push boundaries. But you don't have to push everything at the same time. You can pick and choose what you're going to push. And so you do a bit here and a bit there, and you're trying to make your own processes better. You're evolving as a person as you get older. So I think what makes a great architect or what makes a great thinker or a great doer is that critical thinking and the ability to take that thinking into action and the patience to stay the course.
Yeah. And I just like to digress and bring up your most recent successful project, the CL Tower, where I understand that you took on this project where there was already an original design in place. There were, I believe, piles already on site when you took on the project, and you ingeniously navigated this sort of change and developed something even better out of what was originally there. Can you talk us through that process?
Yeah, I think, I mean, when I look at CL, and in fact today, 15 November 2025, CL has officially opened its doors today, this morning.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
No, and so this podcast is quite poignant that way.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes.
No, it's an CL is an amazing project, but it's one of the many amazing projects I've been lucky enough to work on, right? And in a way, since you brought up CL, I'll talk about it. CL is not just about CL. It's more about, for us as architects and engineers, because I get to run a firm of about 115 people in Dubai. We are equal parts architects and equal parts engineers. We're a tech firm. So I have structural, mechanical, electrical engineers. I've got architects, project managers, interior designers. So our firm also combines art and science, which is my lifelong passion. So I'm very lucky. I get to work with really talented people from all over the world. We have 30 nationalities in our studio. And these people come from very different backgrounds, from big cities and small villages, from Asia, Europe, and Americas. And what they bring to the table is this dedication to really pushing the boundaries and exploring things. And we look at things from multiple perspectives. Like if I were looking at this mug, I would not just look at it that way. I have to look at it from different angles. Because if you look at something from multiple perspectives, you will understand it better three-dimensionally. And I'm using that more as a pun rather than issues are complex and they can look unsolvable, such as the CL challenge. But in fact, if you've got really smart people working with you collaboratively, you can look at that challenge from different angles and you might find a unique solution. And that's what happened on CL. The piles were in the ground, as you mentioned. The property was sitting there for about 10 years with the piles in the ground, designed by another architecture engineering firm. And then the Wall Street crash happened, as you know, the financial crisis. So everything stopped 2008, 2009. And I got to the property in 2018, so about 10 years later. And there it was, with some construction done, but nothing above ground. Everything was underground. And so the challenge for us was, what can we do? And for me, CL is interesting. It is probably one of the toughest projects I worked on in my career. And it's also probably one of the most rewarding. So I like to say that when you have extreme challenge, then you need to find extreme solutions. And so in the case of the foundations of CL, we realized within the first 4 weeks of working on it that we wanted to do a completely different design than the original design for that property, which was not built. But how can you do a completely new design for a tower if the foundation is for a different kind of building?
Exactly.
So the first thing we did is we did a structural analysis. We looked at the soil, we looked at what was already built, we looked at the new shape of the tower that we wanted to design, completely different to the original design. And the question was, will it stand? Right? And what I worked very closely with our director of structural engineering, and his feedback from initial computer modeling of the soil and the piles was that, yes, we can come up with a radically different design. In fact, about 100 meters taller than the original design. The original design was a rectangular building. CL, as you know, is more like a cylinder.
Yes.
So it would be a radically different design. And yes, by doing certain things, so we added 22 piles within the piles formation. And by putting a raft to capture the loads, yes, we can propose a new design. And I only went to our client and said, I'd like to do something different when I had a certain level of confidence that we could do it.
Yeah. And now it's like a celebrated structure. It's amazing because like when you speak about the process of how you did it, you naturally have this sort of scientific approach to problem solving where you observe and you make a hypothesis and then you put it into execution, which I think not a lot of architects realize is a very important skill that we have.
Yeah.
The relation between science and how we can apply that in our work, especially when you have constraints, when you have limitations present in the buildings that we build. You're also very vocal on the impact architecture has on society, on the importance of building structures that benefit communities. Can you speak more on that and how you use this philosophy in your daily work at NORR Group?
So I'll pick up on both things that you mentioned. The first one is actually also very important, which is I often say to the designers who work with me, and I often say to myself early in the morning, don't jump to conclusions. Be patient. And what that means is that when you have a challenge, you should first spend time defining the challenge. And in physics, we used to say that if you spend more time on the question, you will probably have a better answer. Because in physics and math, sometimes you don't have one answer. You can have multiple answers to the same hypothesis or question. So in design, when I look at building design or any challenge, it could be financial, how to make our company more profitable, right? I see every question as a design question. It becomes design. If I'm writing a letter or I'm working on an Excel chart, I'm designing the letter. I'm designing the chart. And so what I say is that if you can just be a little patient with yourself, spend more time on the question before you jump to the answer, you might discover something unusual, hidden, that you didn't know was there, that you can grab.
I would imagine that in meetings, you're the last person to speak because you would listen to everyone else.
I'm glad some of my directors are not here because they might not agree. But actually, I could do better. I could be a better listener. But to listen, and I think that's really important actually in life. And also, some of it is listening to others, some of it is listening to your own inner voice. So do you take out time to be on your own, right? To read, to think about things. And if you can do that, if you can be brave enough to spend more time with your own thoughts and to manage your thoughts and to be more patient with the question. Don't rush to the answer. Sometimes you discover something really amazing. Not every time, but there might be something hidden. So in a lot of our work, I see my role more as an exploratory role, is to explore and look for solutions. Many of them you throw away. Many of them don't work. And so partly you have to also be a bit brave and resilient, willing to try stuff, sometimes laughed at, sometimes to try stuff that is obviously not going to work, but try it anyway. Then you try 100 different things and we throw 99 away. So that someone might say, oh, that's really wasteful. You did all this work, you threw 99 out of 100 ideas away. I say no. Design is actually a subtractive process. It's not additive. You generate a lot and then you remove until hopefully you found something that you think is worth pushing forward. So that's how I work a lot. I generate a lot of energy and excitement about things, lots of ideas. Then even when we narrow down to one, we will then generate 10 ideas from the one idea, which are branches of that idea. Then we'll throw away 9. So that's the process, and it's quite rigorous. And
you filter, you eliminate the ideas.
And you have to have a lot of energy. You have to be a high energy person to find solutions that someone looks at it and they say, oh wow, there's something special about this tower, let's say. And sometimes what I think is exciting is that you can't put your finger on it. You can't say, here is the one thing that's exciting about this project. It might be something very subtle in it that makes it special.
But if I may follow up on that,
Irene.
You seem to prioritize taking things one step at a time, really going through all the possible solutions for a problem that you face. How do you push for that in this industry that's always fast-paced, always demanding immediate answers, the quick fix, when time and money are of concern? How does that value play into that reality of our industry?
We'll be back after a short word from our sponsors.
Alex, we live in Dubai,
Yes, we do.
a popular, well-known city.
Yes, it is.
And I'm sure a lot of people have asked you, when you come to Dubai, what is there to do? What do you eat?
You know what, Irene? Now that I think about it, people should visit the newly renovated Dubai Fountain. Even before it was renovated, it was spectacular.
Already was, yes.
But now it's just on a whole new level.
Oh, that's exciting to see.
Exactly. How about you?
I would, of course, recommend the hot spots like the Burj Khalifa, Burj Al Arab, and
Dubai Frame?
Dubai Frame, to see the old side of Dubai as well.
I would take them on a desert safari.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And with the cold seasons coming,
that'd be perfect.
that will be very perfect for families and for lovers or for whatnot.
Yeah. And how about for food? What cuisine do you recommend here?
Everything's here in Dubai. You have Indian food, you have Lebanese food, you have
Yeah.
Filipino food, you have everything here. But I would recommend they try shawarma here in Dubai.
Yes. I think it's a bit underrated when you're outside, or maybe overrated when you hear about it, but shawarma really is legit here. So we do recommend.
Yes, we do.
And did you know that all of this is possible if you book through MPQ Tourism?
Really? Do tell.
Yeah, so they can plan your entire 7-day itinerary from your arrival to departure. They'll take care of your hotel, your schedule for the day, and when you transfer to different cities, it's all taken care of. And MPQ Tourism, they happen to be our sponsor for today's video.
That is so amazing. For more information regarding MPQ tourism, just refer down to our podcast show notes.
Yeah, thank you MPQ Tourism.
Thank you, MPQ tourism.
And now we're back to the episode.
You seem to prioritize taking things one step at a time, really going through all the possible solutions for a problem that you face. How do you push for that in this industry that's always fast-paced, always demanding immediate answers, the quick fix, when time and money are of concern?
Yeah.
How does that value play into that reality of our industry?
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's very tough, and you have to be very resilient, and you also have to be flexible. So sometimes the constraints of reality might be such that I don't get to do as many studies as I want because time's running out, right? So I often tell my team we're running out of time. Like when we're generating ideas, I say, guys, we're running out of time. So, and that kind of energizes us to quickly come to the ones that we think are worth looking at. Very often I push our clients, I tell them I need more time. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And but I always tell our clients, and they respect me, is that the time we spend in the early months of a project, when we are conceptualizing the project, it's like the best investment you can make. Because if the quality of your decision making in the front is a high quality decision making, you will reap the benefit through the whole project. But if you rush to something too early, and you then, I call it the hardening of the arteries, then you're stuck, you're not willing to change, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? You could have done something that is more efficient, has better value, is more exciting to look at, and it works better. Construction cost might be less. Construction time might be less. So there are a lot of hidden possibilities which you may not know that you skipped them because you skipped the process. You shortcut a process. So, but I will say I'm a realist. We live in very competitive times, fast-paced times.
Yeah.
So because I want to iterate and I want to study things exhaustively, that means we end up working very long hours. And that's the price I pay. I pay a price for the passion to try things and to then remove, to look for the solutions that are really worth it. There is a effort needed for that.
And is this something that you have applied in your work ethics since you were young, starting out as a new architect? Or was it something you picked up from your early days or something you've developed while working here?
No, I've always been extremely hardworking, even as a kid. I'm just one of those people. I work extremely hard, and I put in the time and the hours. I don't count my hours. So that helps. It's good not to count it.
Not to be pressured by...
Yeah. I don't say, oh, I worked 100 hours this week. I don't count. The irony is that because I'm so passionate about what I do, I don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life.
That's interesting. And that's something that a lot of people do advise when you want to work, go after what you're passionate about so it doesn't feel like you've worked at all. And I think in this case, it's a unique situation where we see someone who really embodies that.
And is passionate about that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's allow me to push back on it a little, but
Okay.
there are many people, there was a study that we shared last week actually where a lot of Gen Zs, a lot of young people are like they prefer the work-life balance at this time, during these years. What are your advice to the young architects?
You know, I try not to give too much advice to people because when people advise me, I think I also felt, oh, you know, they're not my generation when I was younger, you know. So I'm a bit skeptical about giving advice because I've been there, and then you know, you're always critical because people say, oh, the world has changed, you know. I'm 62 years old now, although I feel 35.
Wow.
But I am 62, and if I talk to someone who's a Gen Z, they'll say, you know, no, yeah, you know, the world has changed. What you're saying is not really relevant today. They might be right. Yeah, I'm open-minded enough about it. What I can do, just to engage in that conversation, is I can say, look, this is how I did it. You can find your own path. The way I did it, which in now I have hindsight, right? I can hold the rear view mirror
the
and,
gift of hindsight,
look at the road
Yeah.
that I traveled. The road I traveled, and I didn't know it would turn out this way, but now I can look at it. The way I did it was that I was really obsessively focused on what I was doing, and it kind of absorbed me fully. And that's just my personality. So let me give you an example. I don't know if you want to publish this one. So when I was at Princeton, I was studying, and I was on a scholarship. So I used to also work in the evenings. I used to mop the dining hall floors, you know, with a mop.
In Princeton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you're a student on financial aid, then, and I was many of us, after the students had their dinner in the hall, some of us used to make some money by cleaning the hall, for instance. So the students leave, and I did this for a couple of years. I would go in with other students, all of us, and one of my jobs was to mop the floor. So the way, if you haven't mopped a dining hall, I can tell you how it's done.
I have mopped
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Right.
So you have to take all the chairs, you put them on the tables. Then now you can see the floor. Then what you do what's called a dry mop. You first clean the floor because there might be food or
Yeah.
something.
Like a sweep.
So you do a dry and you clean. Then you do the wet mop, you know, where you really mop it properly. And then it dries, and then you put the chairs back. Now, I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved this job.
What about it in particular?
I just love it. I mean, you see, like my issue is that I love any job that I'm doing. Like I can see the value of it, and I like to decode it, and then I really do it. And when I finish, I feel good about it. So my reward is to look, did I do a good job? I feel good about it. And so a lot of the rewards that I get from my life and from the work I do, which I don't see as work, it's actually a internal world of trying something, doing it, and if I do it well, I feel really good about it. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, happen to be that I went into a profession that is really exciting. I love it. But I probably could have done something else. And I'd probably love that too. I don't know. It's difficult to know because I haven't.
Yeah.
But I do get satisfaction in taking something on and doing it well. I find that very rewarding.
Yeah.
That's very humbling to know that there is no job too small. And
never.
when you look at something, like you said, it has value.
Yeah.
And when you take on a big task, you can just break it down into steps, and that'll help you get through the process. But it seems like you are the person who really enjoys the journey.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obsessed with journey or process. I'm obsessed with that. And, one of the things people ask me is that, oh, you got a chance to work on such amazing buildings. CL is one of them. And so what's your favorite project? What are you most proud of? And I've been asked this question a few times over the years, and I always have the same answer. I'm most proud of the studio that we've created and the values that we have in our studio and the tremendously diverse population of super talented people that I get to work with. Designing the studio is my biggest achievement, because if the studio is amazing, then our work should be amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're producing cars, let's say, what matters is the factory. How well is the factory running, and how creative are the engineers in the factory? How does the assembly line work? If you get the process right, and it's a constant improvement, you'll never get it perfect, right? Then there's a high probability that the work that comes out of your factory, or in this case our studio, probably some of it will be quite amazing, because we've invested so much in the factory and the people, right? So for me, I'm very obsessed with the studio and my team, and then our team on the construction site, to make sure that the buildings come out right. And that's really unbelievably challenging
Yeah.
and very exciting. That excitement outlives any building that comes out of it. And of course, the building comes out, we celebrate, we're so proud. Then we are designing 5 new buildings at the same time. The factory's running, right?
Yeah.
And then there are issues in the factory. Something's not working. Guys, how do we solve it? It's just, for me, I'll be honest, and people sometimes think I'm lying. I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world. Which is kind of, I'm sure there are many lucky people in this world, and I hope there are lots of lucky people. But I'm one of them, for sure. I really get to spend my life on things and work with people. It's a great way to live your life.
Yeah. These are really wise words to live by for our listeners. I'm sure they really are taking in a lot of nuggets of wisdom here.
Not if they're Gen Z. So I always say I can only be honest about my journey, and then somebody else will come and talk about theirs, and theirs might be more fascinating than mine, right? I hope so. Yeah.
But yours is, one of the key things. And as we try to wrap up the conversation, actually, the most poignant thing about your story, I think, Yaya, is that architecture is defined as an art and science of designing and building buildings. And for me, hearing your story and your thoughts and your ideas on work and physics and problem solving, it seems that you have not only put this to mind, but actually lived it. Architecture as an art, the humanness to it, your intuition. You said that you built your company, and that's your favorite part about it, and about the work is getting the chance to relate to other people and to have these connections and to use our social interactivity as a platform of giving more projects. So that's one part of it, the art. And the science of it, like problem solving, and applying what you learned in physics to solve the problems. Like, say for example, the what happened with CL Tower. And it's amazing how this architecture as an art and science can not only be practiced but also embodied. And that's the major takeaway that I'm taking away, because one of the interviews we had with one of our other guests, um, it's a constant idea that architects get satisfaction from our industry in two ways actually. One is like once you design a building and once you build a building and people celebrate your building. That's one. But the beautiful thing about architecture is not only that, the end product, but the how of it, the process of doing that can also be rewarding and satisfying in its own right. And you have embodied that in a very amazing, beautiful, and poignant way.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I was just rambling.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what we've been trying to
Yeah.
express as well, as you shared your story and your philosophies. Though you say you don't really want to give advice,
Yeah.
but what's maybe advice you might have received that maybe
Yeah.
you do agree with? Because earlier you said it's of a different time. It won't apply to me, but something that was valuable to you.
I mean, I would say the best advice I probably got is by doing. So people that you look up to, who are your mentors in life, who you get to work with or see, and they don't have to say too much. You can just look at how they behave, their actions, and that becomes like a silent advice to you. So you can emulate that, right? So often I think about people who I've been really lucky to run into in life. Some of them in my profession, but also people who have nothing to do with architecture at all, right? And then you always say, oh, what's so special about this person? What did you notice? What did he or she say, or what did he or she do? And then if you have time to reflect a bit, you can find the advice in that. So I think that's because we are like sponges, we are constantly absorbing from others, our parents. I mean, I think parenting is probably the most important. Then your siblings, your own family, your spouse, your children, your friends, your circle of friends is really important in life.
Yeah.
And I would say also find yourself. So one is that people often look outside. They're constantly looking outside for gratification. How good am I? Or what can I learn from someone? And that's fine. But take time also to find yourself, to think for yourself. Block out the noise. Turn off the news. Just think things through for yourself. And you might find that you find things there that work for you. And you can't advise it to other people because it's customized for you, right? So I think all of that's really important. And I in a very fast-paced world, you brought up how fast things are.
Yeah.
One of the risks of living in a very fast-paced world is that there won't be enough reflection and thoughtfulness. You're rushing to act on things and you're not questioning why you're doing it. You're just doing it, right? And what if all humankind thought a little bit more, was a bit more compassionate, was willing? What if we were willing to look at the perspective of anything from a different perspective? That conflict, there are so many geopolitical conflicts today. If people were willing to look at it from the other person's point of view, they might say, we think we should do things differently, right? So I get to do that in design. In design, I get a chance to be thoughtful and ask questions. But politicians could do that. Leaders could use that kind of openness in thinking to solve other design problems of the world. Like conflict is a design problem, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What if we were able to use that way of approaching those problems? Wouldn't that be amazing?
It
Or our
would.
environment. You know, we've ravaged our planet. We're paying a price for that since the Industrial Revolution. So now we are saying, we need to build our cities differently. Our cities, we need density, but thoughtful density and sustainability and resource conservation. There are so many huge challenges that we face today. And I'm a big believer we can do it. But it comes down to our attitude.
Yeah.
It's not about how smart you are. Because, I went to a great school and I met some really, really smart people. And I was humbled. When I met some people, I realized just how brilliant people are. Like God gives brilliance wherever God wants to. But the people who make a difference to the world don't have to be brilliant. They have to be open-minded, compassionate, positive, action-oriented. And they should be able to influence other people to be like that. You know, it's about influence, but positive influence, right? Imagine if you can do that, what change you can bring to the world, right? Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would.
Yeah.
That's ideal.
Yeah. There was this quote by Blaise Pascal. I think it's
Pascal?
Yeah. He said that all of man's woes derive from his inability to sit in a room with his own thoughts.
Wow, fantastic.
And that's what you're saying.
Yeah. No, that's
You're
amazing.
like Blaise Pascal.
You know, I live in a very practical world. I run a business and I get to see bricks and mortar. I get to see lines on paper converted to bricks and mortar. That's what I get to see, which seems very practical, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at that process of going from an idea, which is cerebral and immaterial, to a product that's material. Okay, that process goes through all the trials and tribulations that anything goes through if you're trying to make change. Because we are trying to change sand and iron ore in a mountain. You're trying to convert raw materials to a beautiful tower. It's a transformative process where you're converting base material to high-end product. How do you do that? How do you convert raw material to something great? And I would say the same applies to people. How do you take a kid from a slum in Pakistan or Philippines, and how do you give that raw material the chance to be great, right? And that is where policy comes in and politics comes in. And so for me, this issue of transforming something to be as great as it could be, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
I just get to do it in architecture.
Well said.
Yahya Jan, thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, and for the work that you do, which we know and we feel is really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling me.
Lines to Legacies is a production by the United Architects of the Philippines Dubai chapter. It's directed by me, Alexis Reyes. Edited by Marvin Berses and Surzan James Gulay. Research and writing by Katrina May Lim and Marivic Matellano. Hosted by Alexis Reyes, Irene Domingo, and Monica Murebi. Special hosts are Patrick Soriano and Carmina Austin Mamangun. Guest coordination by Van Adrian Latigay. Social media managing by Norlene Clarice Felizario, Edna Marie Optinalia, and Ran Dudang. Production design by Onofre Giao and Junilin Gallo. Operations is by Chris Garcia. Introduction is by Camila Latigay. And the podcast beat was produced by Patrick Soriano. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Lines to Legacies. See you next time on another episode of Lines to Legacies, a production by the United Architects of the Philippines Dubai chapter.